The mantra of Blue Manor Academy is raising children for greatness. And that's not just some generic slogan that we coined out of thin air. It speaks to a specific style of education. We say educating in the mold of the elite prep schools and the aristocracy and nobility of old. It's a different type of education than what you're familiar with, like with public schools, and it's highly effective. I can't tell you, I mean, it's about 1,400 pages to explain the difference, but we're going to talk about just a few of the differences between a public school education and an elite prep school education. But before we do that, I just want you to understand how highly effective this mode of education is. Our last four presidents were all prep schoolers. So that's Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden. Four presidents in a row that are prep schoolers. And prep schoolers make up about 0.5% of the population. So 0.5% of the population, 100% of our last four presidents. When you think of the great tech icon billionaires, you think of Elon Musk, probably. He's the rich. I think he's still the richest man in the world. Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook. These are all prep schoolers. And I love the example of Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, even though I'm not huge fans. They are wildly successful, but they both dropped out of Harvard. And Zuckerberg was 19 years old, halfway through his sophomore year. So when he started that billion-dollar tech empire, he didn't get the know-how from Harvard. He got that from prep school. He went there. He dropped out. He knew he didn't need Harvard. He already had what he knew or needed from his prep school experience. When your kids graduate from a public school, the chance that they'll go on to an Ivy League university, it's about 0.01%. So it's about 1 in 10,000 public schoolers make it into the Ivy League universities. If you graduate from a prep school, the chances you'll go on to an Ivy League university, it's about 35%. So almost 4 out of 10. And some of the kids choose not to go to Ivy League because they follow their parents, like alma mater or something like that. So highly successful schools. And when we think about these prep schools, they range about 30, 40, 50, $60,000 a year. So they're really expensive schools. And we tend to think, oh, it's just about the money. So they probably have, the best facilities and the newest curriculum and all that. And some of that is true, but I attended a prep school in Virginia, a boarding school, very similar to what Donald Trump attended. And I can tell you, we didn't have the newest facilities. Some of our buildings were really old. Our textbooks were old. So it wasn't all about the money. It was about the methods. And I would say that this is not an accident either. I write about this in Revealing School. That was the first book I wrote. It's about 400 pages, but it really explains what's wrong with public school. And whether it's on purpose or by accident, it looks like the fight has been thrown. And you have people like President Obama, and he was against school choice, and he was all about investing in our public schools, and that was the way forward. But then he put his kids in elite prep school. He was probably spending about $70,000 a year for Sidwell Friends for his daughters. So he understood the difference between a prep school education and a public school education, and he chose the prep school education. Now, I'm not here to sell you a prep school education. We are a homeschool academy, but we are trying to bring the world of prep schooling or elite education into the homeschool world. Because the number one mistake that homeschoolers make after pulling their kids out of a broken public school system is they turn around and they try to recreate that from home. And a lot of times they don't mean to. They just don't know any different. And so homeschoolers tend to raise nice nerds. They do very well on the standardized tests. They probably get into good colleges, but then when they get out there into the real world, they don't necessarily achieve any better than the public schoolers. They're probably better behaved. I'm not saying there's no advantage to homeschooling. There is a huge advantage, but we can take it to the next level. And that's the mission of Blue Manor Academy, bringing elite prep schooling into the world of homeschooling.